You guys, I was doing some work, right? And I was lollygagging all over the internet. And I saw this story about a guy named Marcellus Williams. He was executed in September 24th, 2024. 2 months ago today, he was executed. Wow, what a coincidence, right? That I would, find this story. He's a black man, obviously, by the name, right? And this girl named Felicia Gale or something like that. Yeah, Felicia Gale. She was murdered back in 1989. And and in 2001, they convicted Marcellus for her murder. So now, after all these years, they're saying, this man didn't do it. The prosecutor who prosecuted him back in 2021, I mean 2001, is having doubts. He wants the case revisited. The victim's family is saying he didn't do it. Can you just give him a life sentence? Whatever. And his family is saying, hey, can you look at the case? But some white man, you'll hear his name when in the video, later on in the video. He went on with the execution anyway. He didn't want the execution stayed, nothing like that, because it's been 20 years and he needs to get up on out of here. So this story is really heartbreaking because they're saying they didn't find any evidence, nothing connected to this man and linked to that murder of that woman. There was none. There was none. And this is a case of a very innocent man dying. And that lady who was crying in that video, I agree with her. It's not an execution, it's a murder. They're just trying to, how do you say, smear it as an execution. This is really sad, YouTube. You guys, I I don't know what to say. Please watch this video.
Marcellus Williams was executed 1 hour ago. 1 hour ago tonight. He was innocent. No evidence connects him to the crime, Art. No evidence. There's no physical evidence that proves Marcellus Williams broke into that white woman's home, stabbed her 43 times, left the knife in her neck, and then escaped. He was nowhere near the crime at the time it took place, from what I understand. Even the prosecuting attorney, Art, the DA, says he's now convinced that Marcellus Williams is innocent. He was fighting for him to get exonerated. And guess what the governor of Missouri said yesterday? Guess what the Supreme Court of Missouri said yesterday? We don't care. This is the prosecutor, Art. The prosecutor it gets worse than that. I even read that the family of the victim, and of course, our condolences go out to that woman, whether she Caucasian or not. Nobody deserves to die like that, especially not a woman. But I read that her family, Art, also is convinced of his innocence and that her family didn't want him to die. So the victim's family didn't want him to die, at least some of the members. The prosecutor don't want him to die. And then the knife, the weapon itself, Art, could not properly be tested for his DNA because the police and the prosecution who handled the weapon after the murder accidentally tainted the weapon. So they couldn't even use the knife to exonerate this black man. And it's a damn shame. He just died an hour ago.
If nothing changes, this innocent man will be executed probably by the time you see this video. So this man, Marcellus Williams, is scheduled to be executed at some point today. Now the thing about Marcellus in his case is that there is a lot of evidence that seems to indicate that he is very likely innocent, and the state of Missouri knows this, but they're planning on going forward with his execution regardless. Now the only way to help Marcellus before his execution is to spread his story as much as possible and reach out to Missouri government officials such as the governor of Missouri and let them know that we do not support the execution of Marcellus and we will not stand for injustice like this to happen in America. This is the last chance that we have before Marcellus is gone forever.
Whatever Allah determines, you know what I'm saying, I'm satisfied with it. Whatever, you know, so I already been right there at that moment. And I, you know what I'm saying, there's nothing changed about it. You know, I'm still, like I said before, I don't believe in the system, the criminal justice system. I don't believe in it, you know what I'm saying, to that degree. But I know that it can be used for good as well. So if good come out of it for me and for my family and for all those that's been supporting me, then all praise be to Allah. There's a little supplication that the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him, he used to say, "Oh Allah, if life is good for me, then give me life. If death is good for me, then give me death." You know what I'm saying? So that's how I feel. You know what I'm saying? I say the same supplication. So yeah, I'm at peace, of course.
Missouri has executed a man despite protests from the victim's own family. And there's evidence of his innocence. In 1998, journalist Felicia Gale was stabbed 43 times during a robbery. Marcellus Williams was convicted of her murder and given the death penalty. While being held on a separate robbery charge, Marcellus Williams supposedly told his cellmate about the murder. But there was no physical evidence tying him to the scene. In fact, more recently, an unknown male's DNA was found on the knife used to kill Felicia. DNA was in its infancy at the time, but a bloody shoe print and hair found at the scene did not match Marcellus. There was a $10,000 reward, and it's been argued that his cellmate lied in order to get that money. Marcellus has also always maintained his innocence. On top of the weak physical evidence in this conviction, it's also said that the prosecution ruled out prospective jurors because they were black. Despite these murky waters, the state of Missouri carried out this prisoner's execution. His last meal included chicken wings and tater tots, and he was declared dead just minutes after being injected. And actually, inmates in 5 states are scheduled to be executed this week in the US. I think it's ridiculous that Marcellus didn't get a stay of execution given the suggestions of innocence. And it's messed up because it means Felicia's case could technically still be unsolved. Let me know what you guys think about this case. I'm not completely anti-death penalty, but I'm definitely anti-death penalty in cases like this.
Marcellus Williams here is going to die, be executed for a crime he did not commit. In addition to the lack of DNA evidence, forensic evidence, the prosecutor who brought this case in the first place believes that Marcellus is innocent and that his rights were violated. The family of the victim does not want him executed. And people have been begging and imploring the state of Missouri and Governor Mike Parsons to step in, and they won't. And so today was the last-ditch effort with the United States Supreme Court. And it just came down a few minutes ago that the U.S. Supreme Court also will not step in. Of the 9 justices, the 3 that were appointed by Democratic presidents all voted to block the execution, whereas the other 6 who were appointed by Republican presidents voted for it to proceed as planned. Y'all, this is truly a miscarriage of justice. An innocent man being put to death for a crime he did not commit. Being executed for a crime where the prosecutor has admitted that he's likely innocent, and where the victim's family doesn't want him put to death. That is not justice. And it goes against everything that the American justice system is supposed to stand for. It is beyond unfair. There is nothing we can do about it. And as far as I'm concerned, the state of Missouri is committing murder.
Marcellus' last words.
The Innocence Project has confirmed that just in the last hour, Marcellus Williams was executed by the state of Missouri for his conviction in a 1998 murder that he insisted he did not commit. It comes despite strong opposition, including from a top St. Louis prosecutor, as well as the family of the woman Willis was accused of killing, who said he should serve a life sentence instead of the death penalty. And as several questions still surround the case that brought his conviction. Williams' attorneys claim that the prosecution mishandled the murder weapon and had improperly struck prospective jurors because they were black. But yesterday, Missouri Supreme Court and governor ultimately refused to intervene. And tonight, the U.S. Supreme Court rejected 2 appeals to spare Williams' life over the objection of the liberal justices, Ketanji Brown Jackson, Elena Kagan, and Sonia Sotomayor. Williams is the 3rd inmate executed in Missouri and the 15th in this country this year. He was 55 years old. He will never be older because Missouri is a state and we are a country that maintains a system of official killing without mercy, even amidst evidence of innocence.
Marcellus Williams was just executed for a crime he did not commit. Regardless of the over 1 million signatures trying to stop his execution, this man was murdered. Because the word is murder. It's not an execution. You murdered him. The fact that this woman's own family, the victim's own family, was against his execution. The fact that there was a lack of evidence and this man was still murdered. The fact that there were people in front of the White House today still protesting, trying to save this man's life. He was murdered. Regardless of fucking anything. His last words were literally, "May Allah be with you all." And that's actually crazy to me. Oh my God, like this country is going to shit. This country is going to full shit. Like this is actually crazy to me. This is actually crazy. Like regardless of anything we tried to do, regardless of all the signatures we got together, this man was executed. This man was murdered by that fucking governor who fucking, oh my God, what the fuck is wrong with this country? What's actually wrong with this country? Y'all disregard fucking human life like it's nothing. Like it's worthless. This is crazy. This is crazy.
Marcellus Williams was scheduled to be put to death last night for the 1998 murder of Felicia Gale. Tony DeCopel shows us the impact of a recent review of evidence. Tony, good morning.
Good morning. Marcellus Williams' attorneys say the new DNA evidence found on the murder weapon matched an unknown person and not their client. Governor Greitens plans to appoint a 5-member board to recommend whether Williams should be executed or now granted clemency.
He's an innocent man, and they didn't look at him like that. They didn't give him a chance.
Marcellus Williams knows his father's exoneration is still a long shot. Williams was convicted of stabbing a former newspaper reporter, Felicia Gale, 43 times with a butcher knife inside her home back in 1998.
It's sad because this woman, she was murdered, and her killer is still walking the streets.
In 2015, Missouri Supreme Court delayed Williams' execution to allow for DNA testing that was not available during trial. Larry Comp is one of Williams' attorneys.
We were looking at an execution a couple hours from now, and the governor interceded, and now we get our day in court and talk about what these results mean.
The governor's executive order states the inquiry board has the power to gather information, whether or not admissible in a court of law, to make their recommendation. The Innocence Project took notice after an online petition calling for a stop to his execution received more than 250,000 signatures. Barry Scheck is one of its co-founders.
And if you're going to execute somebody, you ought to have a really good fact-finding process. Here we have an individual that DNA testing is showing could well be innocent. It's very troubling.
Missouri's Attorney General has defended the prosecution of Williams and said in a statement, "We remain confident in the judgment of the jury and the many courts that have carefully reviewed Mr. Williams' case over 16 years.
I hope my father's situation shows people that we need to give people a chance and treat everybody equal."
2 witnesses reportedly claimed Williams confessed to the burglary and the killing, but defense attorneys say those witnesses are unreliable and were motivated by a $10,000 reward. Gail?
All right. Thank you very much, Tony.
Bless you.
Power outages due to outdated grids and volatile weather conditions.
with us, no peace. Unity is all we need. We won't rest till we see every rest can read. We gon' raise our hands.